Welcome to Beer and Baseball, a Myrtle Beach Pelicans production. I am your host, Adam Dellinger. But before we get to today's pod, here are a few housekeeping notes. First off, this is a new podcast, so the more you share, the more listeners we obtain. Where can you listen, you might ask? On the iHeart Podcast Network and also on the Myrtle Beach Pelicans YouTube channel. Listen, subscribe, review, 5 stars would be great, and share. That's all we ask. Now, let's go. Welcome to Beer and Baseball, the 5th version of this podcast that we've done now. My name is Adam Dellinger. I am the makeshift host because I am affordable. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcast, and I'm going to jump right into this one because we've done super serious, heavy stuff. We've had a lot of fun. We talked about baseball. We talked about Tiger King at this point, but I've got a slew of guests today that all share basically the same goal in their professional life, and it's about making baseball and the experience fun. So let's go ahead and go around and introduce everybody. And Nate, I'll start with you, man.
I'm Nate Kurant. I'm with the Charleston RiverDogs, and I'm the director of promotions.
And I'm not going to let you stop. You got to go some more. Talk about yourself, bro.
Oh, that's pretty much it. That's really my entire identity. I was gainfully unemployed for so many years before this, and I lied enough on my resume to get hired, and here we are. So
your resume is where it's at. I also believe you do some improv, and I'm going to get to that here a little bit later. David, I'll come to you next, man.
I'm David Ratz. I'm the director of promotions for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Been doing that for about 3 seasons. This would be season 4. We'll see what happens. And before that, I had a 14-year career in radio doing the same thing, promotions director, concert event production for radio.
And I should mention this, we're going to come back to Nate's improv experience. David and I share a couple of things that he is not aware of right now, but I'm from Winston-Salem. David went to Elon, which is just down the street.
Yep.
David is also from Atlanta and oddly not a Braves fan. So we're going to have to address that coming up here shortly as well. And then, of course, my hometown hero, Hunter's with us again. Hunter, how are you, dude?
It's good to see you, Adam. I'm glad I get to finally see the mullet in action there. That looks fantastic, brother.
I'm really proud of it. I couldn't dedicate, honestly, I couldn't dedicate to the lines because my wife gave me the hairstyle.
There's still time.
I really know how to do stencil work, but once
There's
this
still
thing's
time.
lifted, and listen, once this quarantine order, this executive order's lifted, and I get to see you, I'll have you maybe stencil like a pelican or something on the side. That'd be great. Now, I know we're going to go ahead and jump right into this, and Hunter, I'll stay on you since we introduced you last there. You work here in Myrtle Beach with the Pelicans. I was listening to the conversation you guys were having before we started the podcast about what your promotions calendars look like. What's happening right now, guys? Like, are you even trying to plan anything, Hunter?
For us, no. For us, we really haven't touched anything. I know David and Nate are kind of working along that too. It's funny. We have a text thread between the 3 of us, just mostly, sharing ideas or just kind of BSing really. And that has been a common theme, I think, every couple of weeks or so. It's one of us checking in saying, what have you changed now? What have you changed now? For us, I guess in Myrtle, we're not really changing a whole lot. Haven't really touched it, mostly because this situation's so fluid still. Really, when you're sitting around for an indefinite amount of time, you don't want to do something and then have to backtrack it or anything like that. So as the days kind of tick off, you look at the calendar and you kind of know internally what your deadline is of knowing that this isn't going to happen. Really just working with vendors on shipments that are already coming in, invoices that we can kind of push off or items that we can put on hold for right now. But really it's kind of you're in that weird limbo of a holding pattern, and whatever you put together, you kind of have to tear up in a couple of days because it gets outdated.
Well, David, I wanted to follow up with you next about this. You said you spent some time as a promotions director at a radio station. I host a morning show here in Myrtle Beach, and I'm also the operations manager. You know, from radio and your current job now, you're always thinking, promotionally. That thought is never out of your head. And I know you guys are the same exact way. Like, what can I do to get people's attention whether it's fun or it's feel good or whatever the case may be. Are you guys starting to kick around ideas regarding celebrating togetherness or anything of that nature once this deal's lifted, like building a promotion around the idea that we're going to get to be together again, David?
Yeah, we are. But it's also that fine line of how together exactly can we get?
Right.
What is the government going to let us do? So, it's you try to walk those fine lines of, okay, when is it okay to make fun of social distancing again? Will that ever happen? We're all lucky that we're happy and healthy now. But that's one of those ones that you got to kind of dance around. And I mean, it was the same. You mentioned the similarities between radio and baseball. It's how do you get that attention and walk right up to that line without crossing it? And I think we're still determining distance and togetherness, and if there is a line there that we can cross safely. But yes, thoughts do enter your head, whether or not you really want to say them out loud at this point. I'll err on the side of caution at the moment.
No, sure, and I get the idea there where you'd like to defer on that. Nate, as a follow-up, and kind of piggyback on the same idea that David was sharing there, the big personal opinion topic on the podcast and on the radio and on television now is, what is normal going to look like on the backside of this? Is that something that you're thinking about right now too?
Oh man, there is no normal. Like Hunter mentioned, we all have been chatting about it and trying to figure out, I think we do a pretty good job, very self-serving, but we do a pretty good job of talking through stuff and trying to be ahead and kind of be like the flagship for minor league baseball as to what some of the standards are. And so we've been talking through a lot of it, and that's the most challenging part is, are we going to be doing stuff on field? If whether you believe in it or not, like doing the wave at a ball game, is that going to be something that we can even pull off anymore because people are going to be so far apart? Do we need to actually take chairs out of the stadium seats, to encourage that distance? Or, do we how do ushers work? It's going to be incredible to think about. And I know, Jacksonville might be a little different than Myrtle Beach, which is different than Charleston or wherever. And so there's no standard. And that's, as Hunter mentioned, that's the interesting, it's the challenge. It's fun. I mean, it's definitely fun. It's fun that also kind of makes you sweat, but it's fun. And, it's going to be a really interesting challenge where, like David said, he's done it for a few years. I've done it for a few years, Hunter as well. And we're definitely going to be, rewriting that book and figuring out what the new normal looks like.
Well, I wanted to, I'll go back to Hunter on this because I've asked him about it on a previous pod, but what are you guys doing? And I'm actually going to step out of the way now and just kind of let you guys have a conversation here for a few minutes. What are you guys doing to stay relevant right now that you don't have people at the ballpark? And Hunter, I'll let you lead.
Right now for us, it's a lot of social, and I'm obviously Jacksonville and Charleston are right there with us as well. That's all you really can do, right? We are trying to think of ways to, and actually it's interesting that you brought that up because Nate actually reached out last week. It was last week, right? Asking about the partnership activation and stuff like that. So there's a perfect example of that text thread coming through.
I tried to
but we're all in that same
as you did for our.
I after seeing David's video that he did, I wanted to text you and tell you I wanted to refilm that because I am woefully underdressed. Gray shirt, backwards hat after following David's shirt and ties.
Well, here, we'll make you feel a little There we go.
Team Hunter.
Yeah.
Hey guys, too, while we're speaking about it here, make sure that during the course of the podcast, at least at some point, you guys drop those ads so people know where we can follow and see all of this stuff too.
Oh, sure. Like Hunter was saying, or sorry, Hunter, were you going to continue? I'm sorry.
No, just saying basically, like it's all social, and you find that line of entertainment, right? What files in that silo of entertainment on as far as content, and then the service side, whether that's providing service and value for your followers or for a team partner, which is kind of the stuff that Nate was working on, and I know David had some great thoughts on that as well. But it's all online now. I mean, that's kind of the common theme, I would say.
Yeah, we have. I was told Nate this morning we have one social campaign we're kind of launching this afternoon that we're putting out there is a 3-item promo challenge that engages the fans and our staff. We're basically, challenging our fans to post 3 random items you have at your house. And our staff will take those 3 items and make videos and turn them into games or promotions that we can do at home. So something that Hunter was saying, you engage your fans, you engage your staff, you're putting fresh content up there. That's not just, the same old thing that a lot of other people are doing. And by no means disparaging a lot of people. Everyone's searching for content, and it's tough. And it's really tough to find that new stuff that keeps people interacted right now.
One of the things that, again, David and I spoke this morning just briefly, and coming to the end of April, you kind of assess what that first month looked like without baseball. And we, like David said, like a ton of teams have done the streaming of a baseball game, us included. We've definitely done it. But for us, we found that our best engagement is actually the low tech, like simplest option. We do dice baseball, literally a pair of dice, a pencil or a pen, and a piece of paper. And every dice roll equates to some sort of, a hit, an error, whatever the case might be. Anyway, we've been doing it since opening day for our home games. And, we put up certain posts and, our fans don't really engage because it's not great content. This was, kind of just a throwaway idea, and it's gotten us truly hundreds of thousands of impressions, interactions. And it gets, it's a simple way to get our fans in the lineup, so to say. Tom is batting 4th for us and playing second base. And then we roll the dice. He goes 2 for 4 on the day, and he's the team MVP or what. Like, it's such a simple idea, but our fans have kind of jumped on board with it, and it's fun. Some guy asked for the copy of the scorecard because he was the MVP that day. And
Nice.
again, like, if we could beat our head, and we do beat our heads against the wall trying to think of funny, creative. This takes half a day for the video guy, and our creative team has to do this, and like, we put up a picture of a scorecard and say, send us your name and what jersey you want to wear, and it's that was the best thing we've done throughout the month of April. So
That
Nate,
might be one of the most frustrating things, Nate, is that, like you just said, you have a throwaway idea and it does freaking fantastic. Yeah. And then you put your time and effort into something and it just completely flops. You're like, I don't understand the internet. Why is this popular?
It's great. I mean, for us, it was great because, again, the fans want to be a part of the team. And so we just took that idea and tweaked it a hair and said, hey, you can be part of the team. Since we don't know, at our levels, we don't know who our players are. So we can't assume that, Kanan Smith is batting 3rd and playing right field. Like, we don't know who's who. So why not let Hunter?
And it's much different, too. Yeah, it's much different, too, than what you're seeing at the big league level or with the other major sports where they can put a fan or they can put a player up on Instagram Live, or they can put a picture of a player or highlights of a game, and fans are going to watch that because it just resonates a little bit different than what we do down here.
I feel terrible for people like, I mean, you guys know, but like somebody like Blair in Kannapolis who's doing all of this without any content.
With nothing. Yeah.
The team change, from last season to this season, so they can't put any old jerseys, old team names. Like, they got nothing to work. Amazing.
We had that same conversation with the Fred Nats up here because they moved over from Potomac, and we were on a call, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And that poor guy, his name's Robbie. It's the first time I met him, but that poor guy was like, I have no clue what to put out. I don't there's only so many, we're looking forward to seeing the new ballpark post that you can put out. And it certainly puts things into perspective when you're able to kind of go to the well and do other stuff.
Yeah. And then for us, a lot of teams are also doing like the food deliveries or the pickups and stuff like that. Well, we have a testing site in our parking lot right now, so we can't exactly encourage fans to come down to the ballpark and pick up any items or anything like that.
I will say the Charleston stuff has been great. I've been following that all on social, and that food looks pretty dang good too. There, Nate. Compliments to the chef.
It's been, he does a great job. He's classically trained, and he's been a professional chef. And so, in Charleston, I mean, I'm sure everybody's got great restaurants, but like Charleston is one of those cities that's known for their food. So if we say, hey, come get burgers and hot dogs, like, people are going to go down to King Street or Market. I mean, they're going to go to all these other restaurants. So we got to be competitive and put out some really interesting food items. So.
Hey, if I can jump in real quick, guys. I love the lowest common denominator idea behind the throwaway idea that really seems to stick. Just to put it into perspective, like, in the radio world, I've done all sorts of things, trying to make things work on social and keep listeners engaged. And my wife shaved my hair into a mullet Friday night, and it's the most engaging thing that we've had over the course of like the last month or so. And it seems like the stupidest logic, but sometimes there's a common denominator, and it's ultra relatable, and it's just simple, and everybody can interact. Now, with that said, I want you guys are going to be on the same page as me with this deal. And if you say you're not, I'm going to call you a liar on this beer baseball podcast. But do you have a threshold in your mind when you post something, whether it's successful or not? Like, do you have your own threshold as far as like this many views or this much interaction before you can, before you realize internally, well, that was a flop or that was a success?
I'll let y'all answer that first. I don't want to answer that question.
I don't know if there's a threshold that you're looking for, but you know what that bottom is, that if you didn't get it, it's not like, okay, it needs 50 likes, 30 retweets, and checkbox success. But if it gets like 2 likes and 1 thumbs down emoji, you're just like, okay, time to move on.
Yeah, it goes back to that, like you said, we put all this effort into some, again, I say stupid video, our guys work hard, we're all in it together, but like we put some stupid video together, we work so hard on it, brainstorm it, do this, do that, make sure all the details are there. And it gets the views because somebody scrolled on Facebook, it took their time, but like, it's, I don't want to say devastating, but it's brutal. And then, but I mean, as we all are very good at, you fail so many times in this that at this point it's like bulletproof armor. It's just like, yep, that's fine, keep going.
I do think it's a little bit different now though, because we're also used to having our in-game stuff, our giveaways, our theme nights. We're used to having that well of basically new content every single night, because not every single game is the same. You take all that away, that's nearly half of our identities, really. I know, Nate, like that is his identity. Like he is the promo guy. David, same way. I know they have, other responsibilities within their organizations. I split kind of my time between the social and the promotional side. So when you take one chunk of that out, the pressure kind of ramps up a little bit. And it like David said, when you see 1 thumbs down, it might hit a little bit different. I'd agree with him though. I don't think there's necessarily a threshold, but you have a sense of when things are flopping and when things aren't working. I think anybody that tells you it has to hit X number of something, then I don't think they know what they're talking about. I think that they're still stuck in the has to have engagement. Right now, nothing that we put out, I'm not looking at the number of engagements. I'm more looking at the number of impressions. If it's trying to get people to click a link, I'm looking at that. There's different things you look at for different pieces of content. But certainly, I think you just have a feel for when something kind of flops. And I speak for myself, but I think David and Nate would explain or would agree that when you get that feeling, when to pull it back, and when to say, hey, this didn't work. Fortunately, we're in a really good spot right now where now's the time to be creative. If something doesn't work, it doesn't work. Who cares? Where's anybody going? They're not going anywhere. We'll see you tomorrow, and like Nate said, you kind of get bulletproof a little bit. But I think now, I mean, for me, not having that ballpark and not having night after night of theme nights or promos or giveaways certainly feels there's a definite big void there.
With that said, Hunter, too, it wouldn't really be a baseball podcast if we didn't bring up advanced analytics. So now that you guys have like dug in all the way with, having to do all of your promotional work through social media, how much do you break down the metrics? How much are you going in and looking at the back end, and like maybe you posted something at a it wasn't the best time for engagement or whatever. Like, how much work are you putting into the analytics there?
I go campaign to campaign. Like for our Wash Your Palms campaign, I'm looking at those separately. One thing we started doing this year was if we saw something took off, we immediately started tracking that and kind of try to silo it. So like we knew, okay, any slider post that we do with the dog, let's keep track of that and just see how that does. You just mentioned kind of the timing. I was kicking myself the other day. We put out one of the Wash Your Palms videos. I think it was at like, I kept going back and forth whether I want to do it at 6 or 3 o'clock on a Friday. Well, Friday is a news dump day. And I was like, yeah, let's put it out prime time with 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock on Facebook. A lot of people will be, and it didn't get a whole ton of views. It didn't get a lot of engagement. And those are the kind of times when you kick yourself and you're like, should have gone with my gut and done it. You know that it can fit in a better spot because you've done it enough times. So yeah, you definitely take that into account. You want to make sure that you have the best plan, and you're not just shooting shotgun sprays, right? And everything's going everywhere. You got to have a little bit of a plan because, like Nate said, there's a ton of effort that goes into these things. It's not just David or Nate or myself. There's like 4, 5, 6 people sometimes on these campaigns of putting all this stuff together. So it behooves you, and it behooves your brand to put it out in a way that the stats back up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost having to avoid the nightly news cycle. I mean, between 5 and 7 p.m., you have your city's mayor, the governor, the president coming on TV every day. I mean, when has that happened? It hasn't in my lifetime. So, I mean, if you're looking to get some content out there, you almost need to make sure you're out there before 5 or pretty much wait till the next day. Because by the time you watch the news, you've been at your computer all day, every, county, local, state official is telling you the sky is falling. By the time that's done, you're shutting down your computer, you're walking away for the night, you're opening a beer. So, you really, that noon to 3 almost in the afternoon where people are starting to slack off on their day, maybe looking more at social media before they get out for the day. That's really that golden hour, if you will, right now.
That's when I start seeing that make fun hashtag just dominates the timelines.
Start drinking at noon, and then we just let the internet do what it does.
Hey, part of my deal here, guys, is like I love hearing, about the way you guys build promotions and things like that, or when we have a GM on and we can talk about the backside of the business stuff, because I believe that what you guys do is not only applicable in my particular career field, but in a lot of others too. But one thing that I wanted to do on this one was let's get to know you guys individually and on a personal level and stop talking about the metrics behind should we post this at 3 or 6. I'm going to start with Nate on this, and I want to know about this improv stuff that you do, dude.
Yeah, that was back in college, my younger days. I went to one of the bigger churches down in Florida, and they had a college ministry coffee shop that style, and they had a couple of guys who were really fun and creative, honestly kind of like these guys that we're talking with, and they did this improv, and I said, hey, I want to be a part of that. And so I did it for maybe a year or two and learned a lot about performance, delivery, timing, reading the other person, all those different ways of engaging, and it's really hard to be funny on purpose, and you can't look like you're trying. And so it was a really fun way to kind of cut your teeth on, now I'm emceeing in the ballpark or we're doing these videos. And so it was a good way to kind of, again, practice in a safer environment and come up with some really funny ideas and execute them, and getting to know that very core principle of not saying no and blocking the scene, but saying yes and finding a way to grow from wherever it was. As David and Hunter will say, we get a lot of ideas in this business, both internally and from the outside, where it's, hey, can we do a toucan flying race? And you go, yeah. It's these ideas that come out of nowhere. There's no life to them, and not shutting it down because it could turn into the night where we go, hey, what if it's not Cinco de Mayo that everybody's doing? What if it's Cinco de Mayo and we do it all about a condiment and we get a sink of mayo, and that's a whole night? And that's something we did a couple of years ago, and it was lukewarm, both the mayo and the reception to it.
Nate, I love that. And I should ask you this too. Did you want to be a sports writer at some point in your life? I
got a degree in journalism. I also did radio like you guys. And basically I was just trying to do anything I could to stay around sports, and somehow got into this, and it's been a miracle. And so, yeah, this is unbelievable. It's also been a really silver lining to this whole shutdown has been my wife and I have been able to catch up on a lot of TV shows and movies, because otherwise sports are on TV all the time. Even last week, the TV was on, and there was 19 seconds left in the half of whatever game. And she's like, all right, let's go on the walk. I said, no, there's 19 seconds left. She goes, in 2008. She goes, let's go. She goes, you can Google it if you want to. So yeah, if there's sports on, I'm watching it. So, otherwise this has been good. We've been watching, I just watched the new Star Wars last night. So yeah, it's been a good trip, or a good, blessing in disguise, I guess.
Listen, if it makes you feel any better, I watched the 99 Packers and Cowboys, and I watched every snap like 3 nights ago, dude. I'm watching there with you, David.
I'm watching the best.
No, I'm sorry. I cut you off, Nate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
David, I've got to talk to you, man.
All right.
Hey, my notes tell me that you're an Atlanta native.
That is correct. Born and raised in the city limits.
Now, my notes also tell me the very last line where it speaks about your lovely wife, Ann,
yes,
and your 2 cats. And you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I'm going to have to take umbrage with that, dude. I was born in Braves country. You were born in the same zip code, bro. What are you, like a major Scott Rowland fan or something? Like, what happened?
No. So my dad is born and raised in St. Louis. And so growing up, we would go to the Braves games every time the Cardinals were in town. So I grew up a Cardinals fan with him because I could still see him 2-3 times a year. The Braves are an easy number 2, but if they're playing for the World Series, fly, Redbirds fly.
So you were like the kid that was playing in the front yard with like a Gary Gaetti jersey or something on then.
Willie McGee.
Yeah, Willie McGee, the speedster. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Willie McGee and Vince Coleman. So that was actually 2 years ago. We had Vince come to a game because he was from Jacksonville and went to high school here. And so we did a bobblehead of him in his high school uniform. So that was one of those weird childhood, now career, intersection moments where you're just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, how does that work? I did want to ask you too, like a promotions director at a radio station is a job that in the ins and outs of radio is so vitally important, and also like incredibly underappreciated also, because without a promotions director, of which we do not have one in Myrtle Beach, that job falls onto somebody else. How easy was the transition, going from radio to the ballpark?
For me, it was fairly easy. But let me qualify that with, I went from being a promotions director for 6 stations to working for 1 team. So, in my mind, I was working for 6 teams and dividing my time 6 ways. And now I'm focusing on 1 brand and 1 team. And that was an immense pressure lifted off my shoulders. The second part of that is, I worked with the team before I joined them on the radio side. So I knew a bunch of the people in the front office before going over there and making that switch. And honestly, as everyone on here can attest, it's the same thing. It's your listener is the same thing as your fan. And it's how can we entertain the fan and the listener while still, keeping a client happy.
David, who did you work for down there, just out of curiosity, the radio group?
Cox Media Group.
WAPE, the Big
Yes.
8.
Yes.
I worked for Cox in San Antonio for several years. Hunter, I have a question for you, dude.
Yeah, man.
I see that you have this John Rambo thing going on today, which is great. I love it, by the way. It's a real first blood of you to come on the podcast like that. But I hear that you have some mullet experience like me, and I want to hear this story.
I don't know if it's experience yet. First off, I'm a headband guy now. For the last 4 days, okay. I'm all in on headband guy. Okay. The hair has grown to an amount where I can't wear the fitted hats anymore. which is a huge problem because I do have to wear one for a video coming up that's going to be released tomorrow, I think. And I've been delaying filming it because the hat is so uncomfortable to wear now because my hair is so long. And I don't want to wear, I have to adjust the hat. So I said, let's throw the headband up. But the reason why my hair is so long is because going into this year, on April 9th, I told Ryan Moore, who's our GM, that I would cut a mullet for opening night. So I got a haircut in January and said I wasn't going to get it cut till April 9, the night before. We'll get a mullet, opening day mullet, have some fun, yada, yada, yada. All this happens, then we don't have April 9. So now it's kind of turned into whenever we play baseball again, then I'll have that mullet. But that's kind of an indefinite amount of time. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get my hair cut again. So this mullet, so the lettuce is gnarly. It's good. Like it could be cut into a solid mullet now. You'd have to watch the YouTube video to check it out, but like it's there. I can tie it up into a man bun at this point. I've got to wear the headband to get the hair out of my face. So there will become a time when I got to cut it. And I know you have a mullet. I'm thinking, what if, and we'll do it safely. So if you have to do it over FaceTime, I think that might make it even funnier. But you give me instructions on how to cut my own mullet via FaceTime. But like, you can't really see me. I can't really see you. We've got spotty internet and you're trying to give me instructions on how to cut my hair. And we do it live on like Facebook.
Okay. First off, I'm all in 100. Like I'm 100% in on this idea. And secondly, have no fear, dude. The mullet cut it's one of the only hairstyles that the worse that it's executed, the better the hairstyle actually comes out. You can't say that about many hairstyles, but you can the mullet. Another question too, who do I need to talk to so that you guys get an 8 5/8 hat in the team shop for you to wear, bro?
I guess we got to talk to Dan Bailey. I don't know, man. I think what do I wear? A 1/8 now? That like does not fit. I'm a tiny guy. I'm a small guy, but yeah, my fitted hats do not fit anymore.
You need that 2002 Barry Bonds hairstyle.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys this too, and since I've already got you here, I just had a lot of the same questions that I've ended a couple of the other pods with, but I'm going to go in a different direction. I love to hear about the promotional ideas that you guys do that are awesome, because I just feel like minor league baseball is getting to a place that I remember it being at when I was a little boy, where it's kind of wacky and zany and fun, and it offers this additional experience. But I thought, since I've got 3 promotion guys on, what's one that you really struck out on and it just didn't work instead of going with like the best that you've got? What's the thing you did that was just a bomb, Hunter? And I'll start with you.
Ooh, personally, wasn't a huge fan of our glitter night. And I know our general manager's going to be listening to this at some point. So I apologize, Ryan. I know he was super excited about that. So we actually, and I kind of blame Nate for this, because Nate did such a great job with Color Burst Night or Color Night or whatever the heck it was. I mean, the guy freaking brought it to the promo seminar in, where were we? Iowa? Was that Iowa? And did it in the hallway, like in the conference room that everyone was in. And so Ryan, actually, I'm not going to throw Ryan under the bus. The idea was, let's do our own color night, but let's do it with glitter. Like, let's just do a huge giant glitter bomb in the stadium. How cool would that be? And it took months to get the glitter out of my hair, out of my clothes. I still find glitter on my desk every once in a while. It's in my office. I know. Oh crap! What's
up, Hunter? I hear there's some issues going on.
Oh, no, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Moore, general manager for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, who just happened to drop in. What's up, buddy?
Nothing. I just happened to be walking by and heard Hunter throw me under the bus.
Oh, great. Well, dress him down there, GM.
Hey, I didn't know I was coming on a podcast today.
I thought you were working from home today there, Moore.
No.
Clearly.
Oh, I thought you said I was dressed down or dress him down.
Yeah.
One, I'm surprised Nate hasn't come forward because we got our glitter idea from RiverDogs down there.
I said that. I did say that. I said it was Nate's fault.
And Nate seems like a guy when you say, hey, I got an idea, he figures it out. Sounds like I've got a guy who now comes up with ideas of why it won't work. So, Nate, I'm going to say.
Did we do glitter night? Did we do glitter night or did we not do glitter night?
Kind of did glitter night.
We kind of did glitter night.
Hunter, you want to be part of the solution, not a cog in the wheel here, Hunter.
I was not the most adverse to the night. There were a few other people, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I've already said I'm not throwing Ryan under the bus, contrary to popular belief. But just overall, that night was probably not something that I would say to do again. That's all.
All right. So if you're familiar with our ballpark, the breeze comes in from the ocean 99 out of 100 days. This was the one day where the breeze was coming from the inland out. So any other day you throw glitter in the air and it stays inside the ballpark, Mike Snow could figure it out. He can clean it up afterwards. This day, you throw the glitter up in the air and it's going to be covering the entire field. And that's why it failed. It wasn't a bad idea. Hunter is just Monday morning quarterbacking it.
Hey, Nate, do you have a follow-up?
So, yeah, I do have a follow-up. I appreciate the nice words. I'm going to mark it and send it to my boss to make sure he knows that I'm good at what I do, apparently. But we actually had an idea to glitter bomb the stadium from a helicopter. And we do a lot of stuff with helicopters. And so that was one of the ideas. And we tested it. It was one of the days that I look and I say, I can't believe this is my actual job. So I took a thing of glitter. We went up in a helicopter and we poured it out to see what it would look like, to see if it would have the visual, and it did not. So we kind of scrapped that idea. But we did a night called the World's Cleanest Ballpark, and we cleaned everything. We encouraged people. I mean, how ahead of our time were we? But the World's Cleanest Ballpark, and one of the things our operations guy, Philip, did was he went through the entire concourse with glitter and threw it everywhere so that the ballpark was so clean it would sparkle. But in that same idea, to this day, if I come home with glitter on me, my wife has no fear and just assumes that I was at work, because it's just, there's always glitter somewhere, and I don't know. But our worst idea, it's not even a bad idea, but one that we didn't do great on, was we had a night, it was sponsored by the South Carolina Farmers Association, something like that. And it was watermelon night. They got 500 watermelon out in the truck out in front of the ballpark. And when people are leaving the game, they slice them all up and everybody gets watermelon at the end of the night. And I can't remember what the actual theme of the night was, but for some reason we said, this is the night where we're going to take some watermelon and every time we score a run, we're going to smash them. Kind of like Gallagher. And so Philip, who I just mentioned, Philip gets up there with a big sledgehammer. He's up in the dollar beer area and people are all gathering around him. Kids are in the splash zone. Like, it was incredible. And I was like, let's just be a night we don't get shut out. We score a run in the first inning. Boom, watermelon. Another run, another watermelon. 2 runs in the fourth, more watermelon. Now, I should preface this by saying the night didn't go off as scheduled because there was rain at about 6. Game was at 7. There was rain at about 6. That's going to come into play here in a second. So, boom, a couple more runs. Before the game, we picked 8 watermelon and took them upstairs because, it's minor league baseball. Yeah, it can get crazy, but 8 runs is about as good as you could ever expect on purpose. And our team hadn't hit that well this year. Of course, that's the night we had our best night of the year. So we score 8 runs by like the 5th inning, and we've got runners on 2nd and 3rd. And I go, hey, intern, whatever, run down to the truck and just tell him we need a couple more watermelon and bring him back upstairs. He runs down there, and he was great. Don't let me say it the wrong way. John was incredible. He knew what he was doing. He's very capable. He gets on the radio. He goes, Nate, there's no truck out here. I said, John, I saw the truck. There's 500 of them. I know you're not lazy, but just get the truck and go get them. Apparently in the rain, they said, forget this, and left. So now we've built the night to have watermelon every time we score. And now the thing we've been building all night is immediately neutralized. And I go, oh my God, I'm praying we don't get these runs across. So I run down to our food and beverage director. I said, do you have any watermelon? I gave him $20 for the last watermelon in the park. Thankfully, we only scored one more run, and it was enough. But it was a night, like, I never panicked that we had. It was, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was our best offensive night of the year. So we timed it perfectly on that, but it turned into a night where we thought it was going to be incredible, and it turned out to be a really nerve-wracking, couple of innings there. So.
Well, your strikeout's not that bad.
I got plenty worse, but that's the best story, I think.
Hey, David, what's the worst you've ever done, man?
At the ballpark?
Yes.
Yeah. So as Nate alluded to, we all have fun with helicopters, which is always great. And so it's our mascot's birthday, and part of that is the candy drop from the helicopter. And, a couple seasons went awesome. We get kids are out there playing catch. We get them off the field. We put them on the warning track, and you can give instructions to 6-year-olds all day long about, hey, let's wait till this candy is on the field, and then we'll all go out there and get it. And so the helicopter comes, and it's maybe a couple minutes late, so the kids are getting antsy. And as soon as the first piece of candy leaves that helicopter door, there was about 300-400 kids that just ran into center field as this helicopter just dumps, hundreds of pounds of candy on these kids' heads. And I'm just sitting there like, oh God, please don't let a lollipop stick poke some kid's eye out. And these kids are getting pelted. And I just, oh, Mommy, it's hitting me on the head. And yeah, at that point, you just sit back and laugh and cry at the same time. And you're just like, please don't let me get sued for this. So that was probably the worst one. It was like, yeah, okay, that was interesting.
But David, you're still working in the ballpark. You're still employed. No child was harmed in the making of that promotion.
That is true. That is very true. And, as we all know, honestly, if you don't have a season without some epic failures that you learn something from, what's the point of doing it? That's how you get better. It's how you make everything better moving forward. You don't want to say you aim for failure, but you're happy if you get a couple learning experiences throughout the season.
There was
go ahead, Hunter.
Just to piggyback off that, there was a breakout last year in El Paso with all the promo folks, specifically called F-ups. Basically, it was where you could share all your disasters or your mess ups or whatever, and it turned into, correct me if I'm wrong, David and Nate were both in that session too, but it turned into basically a 2-hour vent session and like group therapy, actual therapy for a number of different promotional people who, even the folks that you think have it all put together, hearing the trials and tribulations of them. And as they're telling these stories, you can see like they're having like PTSD and their eyes are glazing over. It is serious. It is serious therapy to go through that. And it kind of, again, puts stuff back into perspective that, hey, everybody messes up. Everybody has things go wrong. Sometimes, you just have to put your hands up and say, wow, that didn't work. And it, like David said, it makes you better. And if you don't have one of those, you're definitely not trying hard enough, but certainly everybody goes through that.
True. And one thing we all learned is do not air your team's dirty laundry in those
don't do that. There's narcs. There's a bunch of narcs in the room.
Yeah. That was rough for that guy.
Ooh, I couldn't. He needed it though. To be fair, he needed it. It was very much needed. And then to get that text from you like 2 weeks later, it was like, oh man, RIP in peace.
Well, sometimes guys, at least in radio, I've been on the backside of some promotions that just flat out didn't work. Quick story. I was at a radio station in Greensboro years and years ago, and I just started, and we did this, it was some sort of couples promotion. And so you had to register, and I forget the registration process. But anyways, let's say there's 40 couples that got to proceed through to the grand prize, which was like a 2-carat diamond ring from this jeweler. And we went to this water park. So these couples come out. We're at this water park, and they have like a beach volleyball area, the sand area. So each couple got a grid, right? And we bingoed it all. So it's like A7, B3. And we gave you a little shovel. And in one of those squares, that diamond ring was buried. Well, we sent 2 promo techs to bury the diamond. They buried the thing like 4 feet into the ground. And this promotion that was supposed to be like an hour long are these couples in Greensboro in July at a water park. It's 100 degrees and they're digging for hours. Hours. And we finally just had to be like, we don't know what's happening here. And so now everybody's digging into the ground and we're like, we're striking oil at this point. That's how far down there we are. And it was a strikeout. But at the same time, we were like, well, that promotion's great, but how about we just grid it off and it's kind of like virtually in the ground. And we just tell you who won the diamond at the end, So when you fail like that, you learn from it and you move forward. Now we end every podcast, the ones that we've done so far, with this same question out of my own curiosity. Now, Nate and David, you guys are brand new. Hunter's already done this before, so I'm going to make him go first so he can't cheat. Who are you following on social right now? Give me your best @. Who's the best follow that you have? Hunter, go ahead.
What's your goal in this follow? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, my last one was Ryan Russillo. I just think he's really snarky, and I like a lot of his insight. It doesn't matter. It can be a celebrity, it can be baseball, it can be straight off the grid, like whatever you got, man.
Well, it does matter though, because you got to put your timeline with what you want to learn. If you want to get better at reading, you read more books. If you want to get better at Twitter, you follow people that are good at Twitter. But in this case, for like promotion wise, Ben Hill. I think you got to follow Ben Hill at Ben's Biz. He loves to write stories about the Jumbo Shrimp. Loves to write stories about the RiverDogs. One of these days he'll write them about the Pelicans. But when I want to know what's going on in Jacksonville and down in Charleston, I don't text these guys. I just wait for the next Ben Hill tweet or the next Ben Hill article, because they'll tell me everything that I want to know. And then I hear it from them, from those two later on. But Ben Hill, he's been everywhere, literally been to every ballpark. Rode in a helicopter with him in 2016 here in Myrtle. We touched some stingrays at the aquarium. We went on a golfing trip, mini golf. We went to the Sky Wheel. It was a lot of fun. Ben Hill is the promo guru in minor league baseball. Really, really awesome guy. Loves minor league baseball, loves the wacky side of things, and is a great advocate for what folks like Nate and David do.
David, what you got, man?
Mine more so along the personal therapy lines would be MiLB Probs. It's a handle where our industry is just venting about all the crazy crap that we put up with. I mean, it could be from, fans emailing you wanting fan packs and, tarp issues, all kinds of stuff that, kind of hits home for us in the minor league baseball world. But MiLB Probs is it's hilarious. I mean, you could just scroll through a couple days of it and feel better about the day you had.
Like maybe a team wouldn't have a bathroom in the away dugout. Like that could be on there.
Yes, or the water is 4 feet high in the away team dugout because it has been raining and one of the players is on one of your pony hops floating through the dugout. Stuff like that. I
love it. And lastly, Nate, what you got, man?
I guess, the one that I agree with both them, Ben Hill and MiLB Props is fun. It, like they said, that's an easy therapy session. And I go to Ben Hill to see what we're doing as well. So that's always fun. On Instagram, that's the current one. On Instagram, I mentioned Philip a couple times. Philip G Art. He's a weird guy. He does some really interesting stuff, and he sells really good art for like $10. So Philip G Art is somebody you should follow on Instagram. Leaf and Bean LLC. A couple of friends of mine from back home just started a coffee and tea company, and I think they launched it like the day coronavirus became a thing. So like it was the worst timing, but they have some great coffee and tea. They've been sending me stuff, and I've been trying to support them through you hope to launch really strong, and it's not quite been that because of the virus. So that, again, Leaf and Bean LLC. And then, as these two guys will attest, I like to cook and use my free time, kind of doing that. So there's a ton of those that you could follow. The one that my wife and I have been doing a lot recently is called Half Baked Harvest. That is not anybody I know, but Half Baked Harvest, she is really good. She makes this this meal, like it's like a Greek orzo, lemon, incredible, whatever. It's just one of 100 things that we've made from her, and it's tremendous. So any of those, but yeah, those are a couple that I really like.
Nate coming out hard with the coffee and tea,
on
and
Instagram, Nate.
herbal follows. Yeah.
Nate, you need to put your recipes on your Instagram, man. I'm sick of seeing the final product. You need to actually put what you guys do.
I gotta make a special one separate, I guess, because I mean, I know you guys don't care overall, but if
I really have no interest.
If baseball season ends up not happening, then maybe I'll have to turn to a career of food blogging. So
it's gonna be pictures of Nate with like flour in his beard and stuff like that. It's gonna be.
I think I got a gummy bear in here.
That could be your shtick, though. You use that improv stuff. You turn into this, this cook who's puts out really good stuff, but somehow kind of bumbles his way to it.
See, that's a game you can do without on the field. It's guess what's hidden in Nate's beard. Then you can do that without bringing fans on the field. It's perfect.
Right. And you can do that on social. Have fans tell you what to make, and you have to cook it.
Can we challenge you to put different things in your beard?
Absolutely. Put that in the comments of the podcast.
Well, cooking a beard face.
Hey, by the way, comments in the podcast is phenomenal. There, I appreciate your guys' insight. I know I say that after every pod, but it's just really relatable. And we're all just sitting around talking right now, and we're trying to work, but it's incredibly difficult. Again, this has been Beer and Baseball. Find it where you find all of your podcasts, including on the iHeart app. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Talk to you later.
For more Beer and Baseball, subscribe to our podcast and the Myrtle Beach Pelicans YouTube channel. You can also follow the Myrtle Beach Pelicans on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next time, cheers.